Hey everybody, my name is Eric Vranish. I'm a physical therapist and need a little bit of a haircut. I enjoy the running community, serving them, and I enjoy running. So, I'm I've been sharing a lot about some self-treatment, self-assessment, self-treatment tips. Why? Because I think it's a need right now. I enjoy serving the running community, but I think I really enjoy serving the running community. But I think most of the time this might help out pretty well everybody. And maybe it's hard to get to the right person. Nowadays it always wasn't easy. We go to the physician. We get the injection or the pills, and sometimes or surgery. And things just don't quite work out right. So I just want to offer this stuff because I'm tired of getting people on the back end of the physician side of things most of the time, and to be honest, a lot of physicians don't know what can be offered as far as conservative management. So here we go. We're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about Achilles bursitis, and another reason why you can have pain down by the Achilles tendon. Next time, it's going to be the sural nerve, and that one's going to be very interesting. That's an interesting one. But today we're going to talk about bursitis and Achilles bursitis. And generally, what I normally see in people and why they have bursitis, most of the time it's because of I'll show you what I mean in a minute, but a mobile foot tends to have a heel that goes back and forth a lot. So when the heel goes back and forth a lot, inside and outside, there's a lot of shearing that takes place between the tension on the Achilles tendon and the bursa that's between the Achilles tendon and the heel. And so, maybe you started, walking more, or maybe you started, maybe running more mileage, increasing your pace, increasing the distance, increasing the frequency with which you ran. Maybe they're, maybe running in old shoes, or maybe you have a mobile foot that, or a maybe slightly excessive mobile foot, and your heel is just kind of shearing back and forth, and it's really not that big of a deal all on its own. And really the bottom line for most of us is that the weak link along the entire chain of anatomy from a foot to a hip, there ends up being just one weak link, and it gets all the irritation. So when that sucker gets inflamed, then all of it, just tends to get inflamed. So, and everything else just tends not to be as big of a deal. So, let's just kind of dive into the Achilles bursitis. So, I'm just going to take off my shoe here, or my sock. Just going to demonstrate to you guys so you can see it here. Where are we? There we go. Anyway, let's see. I'm gonna get this a little bit closer so you can see a little bit closer. How's this gonna work? That'd be working better this way. So anyway, yeah, I think you guys can see. Obviously that's your Achilles tendon right there, and right where your Achilles tendon meets your heel, right about, yeah, you guys can see that right there, and it's on either side. You can feel it. But right where the Achilles tendon meets your heel, and if you press hard enough, you can kind of feel where the heel is at the very top and where the Achilles tendon attaches to it. So right in there is where, between the Achilles tendon, right in front of that Achilles tendon, and kind of right behind your heel, but on the top of your heel bone, your calcaneus, you're going to be able to kind of, if it's Achilles bursitis, you're going to be like, and it's going to be tender right there. And on the other side in the same area, right in front of the Achilles tendon and right behind the heel, kind of on top of the heel portion, but right there, you're going to notice that. And that's a good way. That's almost like a telltale sign that it's Achilles bursitis, and you'll feel it kind of gush a little bit when it's irritated compared to the other side. It'll be like just really kind of tender and swollen right. Yeah, you guys can still see right there. And on the other side as well. So, yeah. Anyway, so my foot's a little, a bit mobile and almost excessive. If I didn't have the right shoes and didn't have the right strength, you know, it wouldn't, I would have all kinds of Achilles stuff and plantar fascia stuff that I used to have, plantar fasciitis stuff. But anyway, let's see here. Bring it down there. See my heel. See if I can do this a little bit quicker, easier. There we go. So on a foot that is fairly mobile. See that? It's flat. That's a nice kind of an arch. That's not. Mine kind of goes down. That's kind of excessive, if you notice that. That's pretty excessive. And so that excessive kind of mobility, if you can see that, as the heel right here kind of goes back and forth, there's a shearing effect when this calf is tight and that Achilles tendon is tight against the back of the heel, particularly when my leg's coming forward and puts a little bit of pressure on that Achilles bursitis. But there's a lot of shearing going on when there's a lot of motion of the heel, and it ends up being excessive. So there's this shearing, or yeah, a shearing kind of a force that takes place against that heel or against the Achilles tendon on the heel, because the heel's moving so much. And when there's a lot of tension on the Achilles tendon, it'll just press into that bursa. But if the tendon is pressing into the bursa, but at the same time, the heel is going back and forth, even just a little bit, there's excessive stuff going on there, and the bursa says, okay, this is a little bit too much. I'm supposed to be here for this stuff, but that's too much for me. I can't handle that. So, yeah, so really, your bursa's around for a friction, any friction point between bones and tendons and ligaments. You know, take your pick. They're all over the place. But that sometimes is a little bit too much for the Achilles bursitis. So, yeah, and so what ends up happening is that when your foot is fairly mobile, that can be the weak link. Maybe it's not plantar fasciitis, which is a lot of people have that. Maybe it's not Achilles tendonitis, but maybe it's your Achilles bursitis. Now, there's another reason why people can get this, and it's actually when people just tend to wear shoes that kind of cup around the back of the heel a little bit too tightly, particularly like higher heeled shoes that cup around the heel really, really tight. If that's the case, and your foot's always up and your heel's always cupped by this shoe that's putting a lot of pressure on the back of Achilles tendon putting pressure on your bursa putting pressure on the heel, then the weak link ends up sometimes being the Achilles bursa or Achilles bursitis when it starts to get an itis, just meaning inflamed. And sometimes there's another reason why that happens, and it could be that a little bit not as often as the mobile foot, but the mobile foot, the excessively mobile foot, like I just demonstrated mine is. the foot that's not very mobile, like hardly at all, and you can sometimes tell if you're one of these, or if anybody else is, when they have some pretty firm calluses underneath the ball of their big toe, their small toe, and their heel. If those are kind of the three kind of top points where they have some pretty significant calluses, then they probably have a pretty significant arch that doesn't really help absorb shock well, if that makes sense. Yeah, anyway, so in that case, the bones don't help absorb any shock. They don't help displace any of the motion that has to take place when we jog or run or walk or hike. And so this the only motion that occurs is at the ankle to absorb shock. So sometimes the excessive motion at the ankle joint, as the I could demonstrate again real quick. If the only motion is at the ankle and there's none at the heel, I'm trying to really make a pretty firm arch here, then if there's excessive mobility, and there has to be, if the foot's not going to absorb a whole lot of shock, being this mobile adapter that it's designed to be, then, you know, sometimes the ankle has to move more. And if the ankle has to move more, what controls that is your calf and your Achilles tendon. So when there's a lot of stress on the Achilles tendon, you may not get Achilles tendonitis, you may get Achilles bursitis, because the bursa ends up being the one that screams first and gets all the inflammation, and so then you tend sometimes not to get Achilles tendonitis or those other things, because the Achilles bursitis kind of slows you down. But yeah, so let's see here. Yeah, so some treatment techniques for this stuff. Well, first off, you got to make sure that if you're a runner or if you started running, you probably ought to consider getting a shoe that fits your foot. Most of the time, if the foot is a little bit more mobile, like I showed you mine kind of is, I'll start with a stability shoe, maybe a Hoka kind of design shoe, that rocker bottom thing. I know that sometimes there's a cult following for one, versus, the minimalist shoe. But, it's really just to try to make you feel better and get on the road and not hurt as much. Okay, if one shoe can do that, great. If the other shoe can do that, fantastic, right? So, anyway, but the minimalist shoe, you got to change the way your gait is, and there's a little more involved there. But some people it helps. Anyway, so the Hoka shoe will tend to help this as well. That rocker bottom. If you have an excessively kind of mobile foot, then it would be more of a stability shoe. And sometimes, just to kind of get people to have a foot that is being more helpful, maybe some support that will help the foot be a little bit better in what it's supposed to do, and not the heel not shear back and forth against the bursa, and the Achilles tendon against that bursa. Then maybe add a little bit of a firm but forgiving kind of an insert carbon fiber, and kind of maybe a forgiving kind of a plastic of some sort. The soft stuff, like really soft stuff, just really isn't very helpful. So those things, and let's see what else. Yeah, actually a really good test. Let me just tape it here. Really good test. I use this rock tape all the time. It's going to be backwards in there, but I use this stuff all the time for good tests. I tape in all different ways to kind of figure out if this is something that would be helpful. So anyway, for Achilles bursitis, if the person happens to have a pretty mobile foot, what I will do is I have to kind of point the foot down and out to create a little bit more of an arch and to maximize the arch. And if arch height and foot strength, and we can get into that later, I'm not going to talk, that gets into all kinds of time, and I don't want to bore you guys forever, but there's some strengthening that needs to take place most of the time with these guys. Foot intrinsic, lower leg, and hip. But in the meantime, I just want to get to the nitty gritty and make it so that people can get back on the road and run again. So I tend to make sure we can get things feeling better first, and then we start strengthening. But this is the stuff that's going to make you feel better or not. Anyway, so create that arch again, point your foot and plant it kind of outwardly, and point your foot and plant it outwardly and down. And lay that down. And sometimes I will double that up like I just did. And so what you'll notice, if you do that on your own, and I'll stretch it out, maybe 75% of its stretch available. And you got to put a sock on after this. If you don't, then this thing's just going to pop right off. You got to put a sock on like immediately. And if you and sometimes this stuff kind of rolls on you. But anyway, you'll notice that when I stand up, that arch just kind of, you can see that, yeah, that arch just kind of stays there all on its own, and it's a pretty firm, it's a lot more firm. So people can end up a little bit not as forgiving, not excessively forgiving like my foot can be at times, most of the time. So if you put that on there the way I just kind of showed you, then maybe you'll notice whether or not the Achilles bursitis tends to shut down a little bit. And if it tends to shut down, then you'll know that, well, maybe my foot is a little bit too mobile. Maybe I need to get some new shoes. Maybe I need to look at those stability shoes. And even better for you would be stability kind of Hoka shoes. And maybe an extra insert in there that would be plastic or some kind of carbon insert that would be firm but forgiving. And it's all kind of this art and experimentation with it that you just kind of build on. If things feel better but not quite there yet, maybe add one more thing that I just mentioned. Like try the tape. And if the tape is good but not completely gone, then maybe add the stability shoe. If stability shoe doesn't do it all on its own, add stability Hoka. If stability Hoka shoe and the tape doesn't help, then stability Hoka and the insert. So just kind of add on to that stuff. And if it tends to kind of decrease as you add all of those things, or try all of those things, then chances are the reason for that particular Achilles bursitis is because your foot might be slightly more mobile. And obviously you got to work on some strengthening if your foot's too mobile. That's kind of beyond the scope of this thing right here, but at least we know the direction to go. And maybe that alone will get you back on the road running. Just be careful because if you feel fantastic and you just start to get on the road, sometimes you just irritate it again. You might feel fantastic early on, but then you irritate it again. So just, maybe do some cross training, give that thing a break. Maybe on the bike or, I don't know, go for, something different, instead of a run for, a couple weeks to a month or so. and then, you know, go out on it, see how it feels, and chances are with all that stuff together, if your foot's too mobile, it'll hop out. And if your foot isn't, if you have all those calluses underneath it and your foot's a little more firm, then, you know, at that point, you need, I would say, a Hoka design, you know, kind of roller rocket bottom shoe again, more neutral design, and maybe a full length gel insert. Just try, you know, a lot of really good running stores have a fantastic return policy. So if it all doesn't work, then you can return it. Generally you can return it. Just find out from those guys. But most running stores even have like a 60-day money back or 45-day money back guarantee. So they believe their shoes are pretty darn good. So anyway, give that all a shot and let me know how it goes. I like sharing stuff with you guys because I know, particularly now when you can't get to the people that you need to get to feel better. Or maybe there's a backlog of just simply trying to get in because you're not this emergent issue. And it's tough to kind of figure it out on your own sometimes. You know, you end up reading blogs and trying to figure it all out, and maybe it's not working. So maybe that kind of helps. Anyway, I got a lot more. My group that I have, I probably ought to start a YouTube channel. There's got to be dozens of videos on there by now about this kind of stuff, you know, knee and hip and back and hamstring and ankle and all that stuff. I shared tons more on it. It's called Running Motivation and Training League, because I do this to help you guys, motivate you to get back out there and run, and help you train and try to maybe even get ahead of your pain points and your injuries that might slowly pop up and you're thinking, what's this? Well, you know, there's a lot of content on the group, so give it a shot and let me know how it goes. And if you got any questions, go ahead and instant message me, or, you know, right here, go ahead and, you know, comment below on this thing. And I enjoy working with you guys and just chatting with you guys. Anything else I can tell you? No, that's it, I think, for today. I don't want to make it too long, but hopefully that helps. Love helping you guys, and, you know, keep me posted. Let me know how you're doing. And, yeah, just enjoy keeping you guys running. Take care, and God bless you guys.